gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to our show. We have gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the multiverse, two of the nerdiest geeks to be found. We proudly present the professor and her geeky girlness herself, Ace. And now it's time. GeekyKOOL presents Professor and Ace.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 29. We are at 29, just like my age. Okay, seriously, not like my age, but wishing it was. I am here today. We are without Ace today. She is not feeling well, so she's got a tooth problem going on. So we wish her well. We know she's probably watching. Hi Ace, we love you. We miss you. We're going to talk about some things today. I've got Mr. Keith Moncrief coming on with me. Just as he was getting signed on, his computer decided to reboot and run up some updates. So he will be joining us shortly. Excited to have him. It's always great to have our good friend Keith. Talk to some other people about coming in. So don't know, we may get a message from somebody that wants to join in. If you're watching with us today and you would like to join in with our discussion, let me know. I will send you an invite. You can jump on in here with me, especially, I'm here by myself. You guys don't want to see me. You guys are usually expecting to see the gorgeous Ace here beside me. Miss AJ, we miss you. I know ratings will be down because you're not here with us. But today we're going to talk about the most anticipated things that we have coming up the rest of 2020, which is ending very quickly. We got Thanksgiving next week, people. This is crazy. This year has been nuts. It seems like it's gone on for years, but this last little bit is speeding up to where it looks like we may make it through 2020 yet. So wanted to mention that, we probably will be looking at our schedule maybe a little different during the holiday season. We'll figure all that out, especially since I'll probably be moving, getting out of this apartment, because many of you know had an incident happen at my house where a tree fell through our house. It's getting repaired. We're going to sell that house and buy something else. So don't know kind of the time frame of all that. House should be finished in the next couple weeks, so that'll be good. Anyway, that's just an update on my life, but we want to talk about what we're anticipating coming up. Want to mention what today is. I was hoping Mr. Keith Moncrief would be with us to have him tell us what today is. Today is an important day in geekdom. Today is the 42nd anniversary of the original Star Wars Holiday Special. Happy Life Day, folks. Happy Life Day. Today is Life Day. We celebrate that in the geek community to celebrate, our differences and coming together, and also Star Wars. And probably, I know people think that the new Disney sequels are bad, and I understand why. And I know some people hate the prequels and think they're bad, and I understand why. The original trilogy is far superior to any of that. But those are shiny beacons on a hill compared to the mess that was the holiday special in 1978. It was horrible, except for we had a few bright spots. One of the big bright spots was the Boba Fett cartoon was amazing, and plus it gives us Life Day, the day to come together. So happy Life Day, folks. And also to mention, because it's the 42nd anniversary and Disney owns all the rights to stuff, they haven't let this thing drop. And which is interesting because Lucas hated the holiday special with good reason, but Star Wars is back with a new holiday special starting today. If you have Disney Plus, you can stream the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. If you haven't seen the trailer for this, I believe it's up on GeekyKOOL. You need to check it out, and then go watch it on Disney Plus. We're just go straight to Disney Plus, but we like it when you go to GeekyKOOL first. But it basically is a time-traveling story with Rey celebrating Life Day. Should be a ton of fun. I am eagerly excited for it. Hey, there's Jason. So, Jason, happy Life Day, my friend. Happy Life Day. And I will make sure to pass that along to Mr. Keith when he gets in here with us. Hopefully that will be soon. Knowing how those computer updates happen, though, sometimes you get stuck doing that for 20, 30 minutes when you're expecting it just to come on and work for you. So, but we will be talking about that. But Star Wars Holiday Special is the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special is something I am looking forward to. I always try to watch the old 78 because I got it from a person who had a VHS from a tape that was beta at one point that was and actually the most fun is actually watching the all of the ads from 1978 to show up there for toys and cars and yeah on this thing I can watch all of that and so I do have a copy of that I believe on DVD. I may have it digital also. I know it's on YouTube or was on YouTube unless Disney struck it down. It is out there. You can go watch the original 78 holiday special and realize how bad it was. It really is a 70s variety show holiday thing, but just one of the worst ones ever. B. Arthur singing, I mean, it's just comical. That part is just kind of comical just because it's B. Arthur. And you're like, where did this Golden Girl? It's before she did Golden Girls. I know she was doing mod at that time. Anyway, it's something to be seen. Oh, and here is Mr. Keith now. Let's add him to the stream. Hello, Keith. How's it going, my friend?
You know, technology is a thing.
It is. It is, man. Well, welcome. We're glad you're here with us. Happy Life Day.
Happy Life Day to you.
Yeah, 42 years ago, my friend.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird how we're only 29, and that was 42 years ago, and we remember.
No, you're only 29. I'm about as old as I am.
Oh, so I was just telling people about the holiday special that didn't remember what it was, and the variety show that it was. But the cool part was how you got the Boba Fett introduction with the cartoon.
Yes.
It was an interesting, kind of bizarre cartoon, but I love it. And telling people they can go check it out on YouTube, how I also have it on DVD. Try to watch it every year, but we've got the new holiday special coming up.
Yes.
It starts today.
Yeah.
So it is on Disney Plus as of today. People can watch the new Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. I'm actually excited for it. That's one of the things that I'm excited for. Just because I'm like, oh man, I was so excited when I was a kid when the holiday special came on and so disappointed with it until the Boba Fett cartoon. I'm like, what is this? This is horrible. But but you know, I'm excited for this one. It looks like a lot of fun. The Lego stuff's always a ton of fun, and then making it based on the holiday special, sort of with time travel, and it just looks like fun. So.
Yeah, well, that's what it's about. That's ultimately what it's about. Is it fun? Is it not fun? It's
exactly.
Yeah, you know what? Fox did. They tried. They really did try. Even though, but this is one of the number one reasons why it was good to have George Lucas in charge. And why he was able to ride roughshod over everything. Because had he not been in charge, you would have gotten more stuff like that from Fox.
Right. That's true. I agree 100%. You're exactly right. Yeah, I was telling people, you know, you may hate the Disney sequels or you may hate the prequels. And it's easy to know that the original trilogy is by far superior to both of those. But those are shiny beacons compared to the original 78 holiday special.
Yeah. And there's a reason why Lucas, you know, really wanted to not ever have that see the light of day. And while you've had people kind of come down hard on Lucas over the years, there's a reason why he does a lot of the stuff that he does. And if you take the time to truly understand, you'll realize that, a lot of this stuff, not everything, but a lot of this stuff is for your own good. He's trying to basically save your brain, you know?
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse. You could have gotten a lot more stuff like this. So,
given the fact that remember, this came out in 1978, okay?
Yes.
So this is a year after the movie's already been out. You've already had the whole thing with the toys and everything else. So, and you can tell from Harrison Ford's haircut, I think he was just coming off of, or was still in the middle of filming Hannibal Street, which was his World War II romantic film that, again, you should watch because it's a decent movie. But there's a lot going on, and Fox didn't care. Fox was trying to find any way of cashing in after what happened to them just a few years before with the whole Planet of the Apes debacle, where they ended up losing all that money. And that's the real reason why Star Wars got a chance and why George Lucas became wealthy, was because of the whole debacle with Planet of the Apes. And had that not happened, it's kind of like what's going on right now. When a studio messes up, how someone else comes along, and HBO messing up its whole thing with Game of Thrones opened the door for what is today the anniversary of the release of Justice League, or as many of us like to call it, Justice League. And it opened the door to have the Zack Snyder version of Justice League. Right. And that's all because, stuff.
So, speaking about that, did you see the trailer?
Yes.
The extended trailer?
Yes.
It was like the 8-minute trailer. Yeah. Interesting. Very, very interesting.
It's all, look, he's telling us without really giving details. I should say he's told us this is going to be a completely different movie because there really was not that much footage that he shot that was actually used in the theatrical version. And people have to wrap their head around the fact that Jeff Johns, John Berg, who were the producers and who were the ones that had brought Joss Whedon in before he took over as director to help rewrite some of this stuff as they were filming. They were the ones in charge, along with Kevin Tsujihara, who was running Warner Brothers at the time, along with the executives. They just decided that they knew better, and that they thought that they could actually make this movie better than what Zach had done, and pretty much just threw out everything he had done and almost from scratch redid the entire movie. There are a lot of stuff that people didn't like that it turns out Zach never did.
Right.
So this is a completely different movie. And him adding some new footage will help make it even a further different film. And considering, as he said, when you get to his versions of a lot of his movies, they always run long when he's done filming it.
Right.
3-hour, 4-hour movies, that's nothing for him. So really just finding different ways of smoothing out some of the rough edges and adding in some visual effects.
Sure.
Basically take what he had originally to become a 4-hour epic. And again, while there's been a lot of talk of, Justice League was originally 2 movies. In its original concept, Justice League was 3 movies.
Right.
So he's got more than enough ideas for a possible sequel. So
Well, and I've been critical of it just because not a big fan. Now, I loved 300, and I love some of his other movies.
Yes.
Did not love Man of Steel just because I didn't feel like it hit on the notes that I needed for Superman, actually more for Clark. I just felt like that was just a really weird way to do it. Now, again, I know that wasn't all him. That was a lot of the studio pushing things on him on that. And then Batman versus Superman, didn't love that either. I really loved the Wonder Woman part, and I hated that they brought in Doomsday just to kill him right away. I mean, to me, that was the biggest waste of a character ever.
The problems that a lot of fans scattered throughout have with any property that has been around longer than 30 years is the fact that there are so many different incarnations that certain fans will glob on to maybe one version and not really take into account all the different versions that have been created. And in the case of, say, Batman, a lot of fans need to get past the fact that there was a Batman before the version that a lot of fans liked.
Right.
And that version of the character doesn't fit in with, and again, a lot of people hate it when I say this, with the more Hollywood version of the character.
Right.
Or I should say the Washington/Hollywood version of the character that was created because because Washington D.C. and Congress got involved, because they took a lot of the hard edges off of the character. So many of the things that people who like the 66 series have to understand is that version was really an adaptation of the way the character was in the 50s. And that character in the 50s was an immediate reaction to basically not wanting to be shut down by the government. So all of that version of the character was just that. So for me, I'm more of a holistic Batman approach. I believe that all the different versions of the character are legit. We can't just look at the version that was around and that was being put in front of us when we were kids. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. That was being put in front of us when we were kids.
Good, man.
Was the only version and was the best version. Everybody has their favorites. It's just the fact that, it needs to be recognized that Batman especially has gone through so many incarnations. And he's not just this character that goes, "Hey, citizen," there is one comic book professional who I think put it best in an interview, that when you look at the history of Batman, and if you pretend that it's really one guy who's lived through all this stuff, he explains the stuff that happened in the 50s as basically years of being hit with Joker gas. And basically the 50s stuff is just the chemical reaction and basically Batman and Robin getting a little loopy. And then and basically having an after effect, which explains the 60 series, which is relapse.
Right.
So I admire Zach because as far as filmmakers go, he does a deep dive into the whole of the character. The stuff that he puts as Easter eggs in his movies are the kinds of things that you don't really see a lot of people do unless they actually have somebody with them that actually is an aficionado or is someone that is steeped in the comics. So they have to be told what to do. And over time, people like Greg Berlanti have benefited by having people on staff that can tell them, "Hey, this is important. This is important." And you can tell from the way they do things whether or not they really are a comic book fan. And again, let me just say for the record, I don't hate Greg Berlanti, but I think he's kind of giving you a white lie by telling you that he's a comic book fan. That's kind of a bit of a stretch. But Snyder is. And the stuff that he puts in his movies speak to that. So I don't really get into this whole, one's dark and the Marvel movies are light. These are the comics. And this is the version of it that the people currently in charge want to give us. Now, as far as Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, that's all part of the story. We eventually will get to a lighter, quote unquote, version of the characters, which is what the Justice League movie that Zack Snyder had originally come up with, the 3-part Justice League movie. That's really what all that was about. It was about taking all of that and moving these characters so that you could show the progression of them being what you and others want to see.
Right.
And so the end of Justice League was going to be that.
Right. And I get that. And honestly, I felt some of that even in the Justice League movie we got. So I wasn't I didn't hate it. The really funny thing is I liked it better than the other two. So that's why I'm a little more critical. I'm like, you guys want to? Well, yeah. Well, Right. And I liked that you brought the group together.
Yeah.
I liked that Batman was willing to kind of look past himself, but I also I liked the rendition of Superman a little better there too, because my problem with Batman v Superman wasn't so much Batman; it was more Superman. I'm like, well, Superman's just being Batman. He's just trying to.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm like,
When you watch the theatrical version that Warner Brothers put out, but when you watch the version that was a little longer, you get all of that stuff. You are missing scenes and character interactions, and you realize that this is all, as Zach likes to say, it's part of the conversation of the character.
Right.
That when you go from Man of Steel and you move it on into Batman v Superman, you're also seeing Clark's reaction to, everyone else. I mean, he's enjoyed being Superman. But the thing is that you also have to realize that there are a lot of people on this planet, on the planet Earth, that hate him because of what happened in Metropolis.
Right.
Good, bad, indifferent. Okay. And what you're seeing is Lex Luthor stoking a lot of stuff. And then that's the other thing that I really enjoyed about all of that is, Lex really is the ultimate long game planner.
He is.
And the character doesn't get enough credit for that movie because of what ultimately you realize when you watch, spoiler, is that from the moment the movie opens, Lex knows everything. That's what you really have to understand. Right. As an audience member, and these two characters, Clark and Bruce, are acting like nobody really knows who they are. And it turns out Lex knows exactly everybody's secrets. That's the reason why he gets away with what he gets away with in the movie. He's taking advantage of the fact that he knows everybody's secret identity.
Right.
So it's a slightly different telling, and it's darker in the sense that you have more things to play with as far as emotions and able to paint these characters in a way that for years they've been in comics that they just haven't allowed in a lot of the TV and movies that have been up to now. So really the films are catching up. Hollywood's catching up with where the comics have been for years. And when I say for years, I am saying since the 70s. So it depends on who you are, how much you know about the characters, and the circumstances surrounding how and why they are who they are, and why Hollywood presented the versions of these characters that we ended up getting. There is a lot of stuff behind the scenes going in with a lot of this stuff, and we need to remember that some of this wasn't just done because it was made safer for the kids. Some of it was done because people wanted to keep their jobs. Some of it was done because they were forced to do it. And when you make entertainment like that, you're not really getting the truth.
Well, that's true.
You have to. Life's complicated, and there are many different types of individuals that live on this planet. And so, while Batman may not be the jokey guy, he might be a little too serious for some of you. You got to remember that there are people out there who respond to it, not because they're bad people, but because it reflects their life and how they see things. And what Bruce actually is he's a reflection and a positive influence on them as far as not allowing the darkness to consume you and finding a way of using it to help focus your life. And really, an older Batman who's been doing this for 20 years, I'm in for. He's human. Sure. I mean, you gotta look at it. It's an alien and a goddess, and he's the only human.
Right.
And
that's true. Well, I guess the part that I really didn't enjoy about those movies, and I'll say I'm excited. Watching the trailer today has me excited for his version. So I'm in. So I watched it today and I'm like, okay, I'm in. I'm definitely in. I'm going to give it a chance. Even though so far I haven't loved what he's done up so far. I'm going to give this a chance because I think it can go some really cool places. I really like what they're doing. But what I don't like about Superman is you don't get and I thought that was true in Man of Steel along with Batman versus Superman. You don't get the feel of the Smallville boy that has been raised by Ma and Pa that have instilled values, and that he's going to react a certain way and do things because it's the right way of doing things. And even when you take Superman back to his very beginnings, when he was doing things and shaking things up socially and having a lot of social commentary, it was always because it was the right thing to do.
Yes.
And I just didn't get that feel in Superman of Steel. And in fact, I felt like his father was telling him the opposite. At that one scene where he doesn't save him from the tornado, I thought, what? And then his mom says the same thing about Batman versus Superman. They're not good enough for you. I'm like, what happened to you do this because it's the right thing, Mom and Pa can't? So I think maybe it's I don't love
we've discussed
that at
this
all.
before. Yeah, we've discussed this before. It comes down to how you want to adapt Mom and Pa can't. And what and for me, the characters that you get in Man of Steel are really more in line with the people who have been, for that time period, that were actually farmers.
Sure.
And as admitted in the biography, of Superman and how it was created, in adapting Ma and Pa Kent, that was sort of like they were characters. They were caricatures.
Right.
For the creators to use. They didn't actually know people that farmed. And so when you look at Kansas circa late 1980s into the 90s, a lot of people are like the Kents as you saw them in Man of Steel. And it's not that they don't have hope. They're practical people, but you also have to realize that there are people who were treated very badly. Yeah. These are people that have seen, friends of theirs lose their farms. Right. And what ultimately happens to Ma Kent in Batman v Superman, that is part and parcel of what those people have been experiencing for years. Sure. Right. And so it's hard to go, oh, you got to treat everybody nice no matter, oh, I'm evicted. Okay. And you can't, you're missing a part of your audience who can identify, because then it's like you're reducing everything to its basic caricatures of who people are. Your caricature of people from Minnesota, or your caricature of people from Canada, or people from California, or people from Florida, or people from New York. And I think that's the reason why you got those characters. Now, I'm not saying that all the advice is perfect, but then again, realistically, and again, speaking as a parent, and I know you're one, not everything we do is perfect. We don't know all the answers. I know, right? But we try, you try. And dealing with the extraordinary circumstance of not only being people that have seen what they've experienced, but now you have a child here who's not really from around here. And as Paul said to him, your existence changes everything. It changes our concept of reality and what we know. A child like that, his world now has just become small. Right. Realistically small. And so, yeah, it's important that Ma and Pa can't teach him values. But you also have to take it from the point of view of the child going, there's no one like me, and I have all these problems, and Ma and Pa can't help me with everything. And the very fact that he didn't turn out to be a serial killer, they should get points for, But I also like the fact that one of the things that I really like is the fact that people seem to forget that while Superman is a great commentary on being a hero and responsibility, it's also a science fiction story. And I know some people don't like to hear that, but that's what the creators of the character talked about too. It's a science fiction story. So he's an alien from someplace else. Right. Who, unlike his cousin, has no memory of his life prior to any of this. Right. So it makes it easier for him to assimilate.
Right.
And so he can buy into that. But now finding, because of his powers and what he can do, he is removed from everyone. He doesn't want to be, but he is. And you have responsibilities when you have those kinds of powers. And he is learning how to do that. Right. The movie Man of Steel is detailing all of that. How do you take that in? How do you do that? This can't be like other types of superhero movies where you get everything handed to you and everybody just starts checking boxes over what they can do. You have someone who has had to try to figure out who they are on a planet filled with people that are not like you. And it takes time. You can't just flip a switch and go, I'm going to be this. That is not how life works, but Superman can still be aspirational, but you need to, like everyone else, everybody struggles. Even quote unquote great people, they struggle. We have to see them during their down times so that when you see them on the up times, you can fully appreciate them. So that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to give you a well-rounded picture. And again, as I said before, he's on the road to becoming that Superman. Zack Snyder wants to give us what you're talking about, but he wants to earn that. He doesn't want to do what they did with the last movie in '78. That's already been done before. Okay, because the moment you go down that road as a storyteller, you are now going to automatically be compared to what they did, and you don't want to do that. You want to be different. You just don't want to be outrageous about it. You don't want to be like the difference between Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek. You don't want to be Murder Trek. You don't want to be dropping four-letter words in the middle of a show that for 40 plus years didn't need that stuff.
Right. Well, but Keith, I was hoping to see the saran wrap used again. That's what I was hoping for. I wanted Clark to pull it off and fling it on Zod. No. But no, I do appreciate where you're coming from, my friend. I just, I didn't hate those movies. I just didn't love those movies. Yes. So when I heard that Zack Snyder was getting this take, I'm like, you know what? Out of the bunch, I like Justice League the best of those three, and you're going to give it back to the guy which made the two that I didn't really care for as much. But seeing the preview, seeing the trailer today, I went, okay, now. Again, I'm not liking the fact that we're throwing Joker in here, especially this Joker that I can't stand. And I know there's a whole story there too, but really don't like this version of Joker from Suicide Squad.
And everybody hurts you, even Zach. The thing is, Zach, I can say this because this is what he has said. He doesn't want to give too much away. But for those of you that didn't like the way the Joker was presented in Suicide Squad, just like the change in Harley Quinn, this Joker is getting a change. He will be different.
Well, and that's typical for a Joker. I mean, that I can actually buy into that because he's always constantly changing with his psychosis.
Yes,
so
but I mean,
I'm okay with that.
He will be different. He won't be the same version that you saw in Suicide Squad. He will be different.
Right. And I can appreciate that. Okay. Well, I hope so, because if we get that version, then I may be like, you're killing me here. Smalls. Killing me, Smalls.
Zach doesn't want to tread over the same ground that David Ayer had. And again, we've talked before. I do know the answer to this, but you weren't exactly a DC kid growing up.
No, that's true. But now I will tell you, I read a lot of DC growing up, but my favorite was Marvel. And part of the reason I read it was because my father was a DC guy. So, but my father was reading during the 50s with the corny, crazy stuff. He switched over from
stuff. Yeah.
Right. He was reading a lot of it then. So, I mean, we've got a lot of those crazy multiple color issue Batmans and Superman, breaking Lois's heart by whatever. So we've got plenty of those back issues that eventually will be mine. Hopefully another, 50 years from now when my father passes. But, those will be mine. But he also got me reading Justice League from the 60s on through, basically until it became Justice League International. Yeah. He got me reading Legion of Superheroes and All-Star Squadron, Teen Titans. So I read a lot of that.
Yeah,
but,
and all of these books are from the same time period.
Right.
My advice to you and to a lot of others is, why not read all the books pre-1950s?
Right.
Why not read all the, like, for instance, when Superman first hit,
right.
one of his, I think his first adventure, he's wanting to beat up a wife beater.
Yeah, I've read that issue.
That's not exactly the Superman that you get in the 50s.
No,
he's
right.
You know, citizen, you can't
agree.
do that. And it is like, in his original appearance, is like, do you want me to take you outside and give you some of this? You know?
Yeah. No, I agree. And I don't mind my Superman. If you're playing that Superman, I don't mind that. I don't know, the emotionally defunct, where I just felt like, okay, you're trying to be Batman because all you're doing is sitting there scowling and like,
those were the scenes that were left in. Again, have you ever seen the Ultimate Cut?
Yes,
what you get out of that is that you can see Clark's point of view, that from his point of view, the world's going crazy. And on top of that, he was getting played by Lex Luthor. You're also seeing a reason why Lex and Clark, while Lex is the ultimate villain for Superman, because you can't go up against somebody who can do everything. You can't physically match the guy, but you can play with his head. You can turn him around, and that's what he was doing to Clark. And he had more success with Bruce, but he was able to manipulate Clark too, up to a point. And no, I
Clark
agree. Ultimately got past that.
Well, and honestly, I don't mind that version of. I don't mind the version of Batman so much because I read the Dark Knight Dark Knight Returns. I read Batman Year One. So I read some darker Batman issues. So Batman being dark, or even Old Man Batman, I know about. I watched the animated series and watched the one where he's the old man, Batman.
Not forever. Batman, also OG Batman. You remember the Batman that you like is like the third incarnation of the character.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The Batman that came before that, there were two other versions of that character, including his original debut where he actually kills people. So
I do remember that. Yeah.
And Superman was the same thing. He had no qualms about appearing in people's homes or going places where, if you look at the way Superman was portrayed in the 50s and 60s, he had to follow the law. Prior to that, it didn't matter where you were. You could be a politician in Washington, D.C. If he had beef with you, he'd fly into your home. He'd fly into your office and snatch you up and take you out. And it's like, that's not exactly the same guy, but it's an evolution. And
I understand that. Yeah.
And that's what Zack Snyder's trying to do with these movies. He's trying to visually show you an evolution. He's trying to show you.
Can I get the evolution of Lex becoming the mad scientist from that era, from the 40s?
You might get a version of that. You might get a version of that, depending on how Justice League 2 comes out.
Sure.
I think there are plans, and have been discussions.
Oh, really?
But
that's interesting.
But yeah, I'm surprised you haven't heard that. Yeah. Well,
I've not heard.
There is a lot to Zack's original idea for Justice League, which was meant to be a 3-movie adventure, and having to take the equivalent of 3 films and shove it down to 2 movies when he started production, and ultimately into 1 movie.
Right.
That leaves a lot of material out.
It does.
And a lot of characters. This is meant to be a living, breathing universe. So you see characters and you get hints of things that if you are especially a big DC fan, you can really be excited about, because you're watching all this stuff on the screen. It's about objects that they use in these movies. It's about people that actually appear, some of them in cameo appearances. Sure. It's about it hints forward for where they would like to go. Zack is putting all that in there and mixing it up with even younger people who only know these characters from video games and mixing that in. He's mixing in all the stuff that everybody recognizes, and he's creating something that's an amalgamation of all the different versions of the characters of these characters that we like. So he's not really going for one version, he's going for all of them. And he's giving everybody an opportunity to see something that they recognize. So with these films, you're getting that.
Right.
You know, and again, people who liked Batman and Superman in the 50s aren't necessarily fans of the way the character was in the 40s, or aren't necessarily fans of the way the character was in the 70s. So we just have to understand that these characters have been around a long, long time.
I do understand that.
With the Marvel characters, I understand. I mean, because you know, Stan was only in charge when he brought the company back, and was only given a certain amount of time to have these characters going. And again, I'm one of the purists that, while I appreciate everything Stan Lee did, I cannot give him credit for Captain America. I can't do it, because Captain America had a life and adventures and was selling big to kids well before Stan was in charge and well before he even got to Marvel. And between him and the original Human Torch and Submariner, those three. So
now you do realize Stan did write one of the stories. I think it was in Captain America 5 or so.
Yes.
So
well, a lot of people.
He did not create.
Yeah, a lot of people contributed to a lot of different characters, but what it comes down to is that, you know, Captain America as a character is well outside what
I agree.
What Stan was comfortable with, mainly because he's not based on a creature. I mean, that's really the secret. See, Stan's secret in creating comic book characters was basing them in horror, because he was a horror guy. So when you look at the Hulk is really Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Right.
You know, and once you understand that, you see his thinking with a lot of that stuff. And again, I enjoyed it all. But I can't give him credit for Captain America. I'm sorry.
No, I understand. No, he did help move Captain America along in the 60s.
He kept it
even
going.
Before
He brought him back. He brought him back
in Avengers.
That's the reason why he made that big deal about it. It's like, hey, welcome to the all-new Marvel that I run. Oh, wait a minute. Let me just bring back Captain America. You know, I'll just play to the pre-crowd, you know.
Right. Nothing wrong with that. And, you know, you brought him back. You helped evolve him. So, you know, I don't give him credit for creating character by any means, but he was influential in where Captain America's gone.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So, and we know that Stan wrote with very, you know, he wasn't very detailed in his writing. He basically said, do this. And so most of the artists actually did a lot of the creating beyond where Stan was. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, we all know Kirby. We all know
Kirby was a freaking genius.
Kirby was. I agree.
And the fact that it hurts me that a lot more people don't know who he is. I think if there's one thing that disappointed me about what the MCU has done up to this point, is they have not done enough to honor Kirby and his contribution. And yeah, again, as I've said, Marvel as it is known now is the version of Marvel that Stan Lee recreated in his image when he brought the company back.
Right.
But
right.
You have to understand that without Submariner,
right,
Human Torch, and Captain America, there is no Marvel Comics.
Right.
Period.
Agreed.
And Stan, you know, Stan is a good custodian and he's a good inventor.
Yeah.
But those three are at the heart of what Marvel is, and whether kids reading it or even a lot of adults today, just because you don't know it doesn't not make it true. It's very true. You do not have Marvel without any of that. And to me, Jack Kirby is on the Mount Rushmore of creators.
Right. Agreed.
Stan is the ultimate carnival barker. But and I do not mean that in disrespect. Yeah. I mean that in he is the ultimate guy. He is the ultimate PR salesman. He's the ultimate everything. When it comes to comics as a medium, he is the godfather of comics. But Stan, but Jack Kirby, freaking genius. Genius. What he could do with just pencil and paper.
Right. Agreed. Couldn't agree with you more there. So, but no, anyway, this all comes back around to excited for Zack Snyder's Justice League. I am. I'm going to post that trailer up on GeekyKOOL later today, because I think people will be interested in see what all it has, because I wasn't sure where it was going, and seeing what they did with Darkseid, I went, okay, all right, I'm in. This looks really good. I really would like to see more of this. I love the whole intro of who Darkseid is. I'm like, wow, we're really going comic book here. I mean, this is not just a TV version of this. We're going full on. So I'm pretty excited for that. Yeah.
Zach is a comic book fan who knows what he's talking about.
Well, and I do appreciate that. And I love his rendition of 300 and how it really sticks to the comics. And so I'll be interested to see what happens. I wasn't down on Zach. Yeah. I just didn't love the first two as much as you and Brittany did. Yeah. But I'm excited to see where we're going to go. So yeah. So my friend, we spent 50 minutes or so talking about this, and that's okay. This is all. No, don't be sorry. This is all good. This has been great. So, what other things are you excited for? I mean, we've got a month and a half left in this year. We've got Thanksgiving next week.
Yes.
And this year's the year from hell is finally wrapping up for us. Hopefully, I know that COVID has gone back up, and places are looking at doing more restrictions for round 2 here. Hopefully, that will be ending in the near future, and we'll get past all this. We can get our butts in movie theaters, and shows will be on. What is out there that may be going on now or going on in the rest of this year or even going into next year that you're excited for?
Good thing you asked, because it starts, I think, this week. The Long Road Home. Supernatural has a special coming on the 19th. So I look at it this way. You can make fun of the CW network and a lot of its shows, but you got to respect what they did with this show.
Right.
The fact that it's been on this long and
15 seasons.
Their fans are so hardcore. They are some of the most hardcore fans out there. And again, I would challenge anybody. You do not want to mess with the Supernatural fans. Okay. But there is a special coming that is for the fans, and really for those, if you've never seen the series, this is a good one to check out that helps celebrate the show. That's what I'm looking forward to. And then
that's a good thing to go. Yeah. And I'm actually a fan of the show because of my schedule. I usually watch it a season late, like on Netflix or whatever. Yeah. But the last few seasons haven't been nearly as good. The first 5 seasons were amazing for anybody that's not seen it. Those first 5 seasons, if you would have ended at season 5, people would have gone, if it could have gone longer. But it did. It went 10 years longer. So
I know, right? The other thing I'm looking forward to is the next. Well, is Friday the 20th, and that's the Animaniacs reboot.
Yes, it is.
That'll be on Hulu. So it's the entire original vocal cast with a new look. The artwork that they're using, the animation, the way they're doing things is slightly different than the original 90s. But it's basically them trying to put it together again for an entirely new generation. And let me just say, I did raise my kids on Animaniacs because I made sure to, I videotaped almost every episode I could, back to when it was originally broadcast. So when my kids were little, I was able to show it to them. It's like, hey, look at this,
Right. What are we going to do tonight, Keith?
Same thing I do every night. Watch other people try to take over the world.
Yeah, Animaniacs is great. I'm super excited for it. I do know what you mean. I did see the pictures comparing the two styles. If you aren't aware of it, it can go past you pretty quickly. But you can see some of the differences there. It's nothing bad. It's not. I mean, sometimes you get these animation changes that are just completely off and really detracts from the show. From what clips I've seen, I'm full in. So I'm really super excited for it. Animaniacs was always one of my favorite cartoons of the 90s. And it's just so fun. It's just so wacky and zany. So yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah.
I think the other one I'm looking forward to then is the return of The Expanse on December 16th. That is an Amazon original series. Yep. And let me just say that if you are not watching The Expanse, why? Why are you not watching The Expanse? The Expanse is based on a best-selling book series. It's got everything you could want. And if you've never seen the show, and we're at it into the Christmas season, and you like good science fiction, just good, real good science fiction with incredible world building, this is your show. So what you need to do is, for that sci-fi fan in your life who fits all of that, buy them the first book and then kind of surprise them a day or two later and give them the entire first season on DVD or Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Or just get Amazon and watch the whole thing and then go out and buy the books later. But the show is so good that the people behind Star Trek Discovery tried to buy all of their sets and stuff when they got canceled from the Sci-Fi Channel.
Right.
It's like, really? Seriously? And I think I heard that was going to be the basis of what they were going to use originally for Picard, as far as a lot of the ships and stuff that they had. And it's like, really? Because the aesthetic that they have on that show, it's not even Star Trek. What are you trying to do?
Well, I heard for the next season of Picard, they're going to use the 79 Battlestar Galactica set stuff. So that'll be good.
Oh, jeez. more murder Picard and 4-letter words. I'm telling you, you can say whatever you want about Star Trek from 66 to 2005, but they didn't have to use an F-bomb or an S-bomb.
Nope, not at all.
To make those shows go. That's all I'm saying. If you gotta do that, maybe what you're making isn't quite really,
Right.
Then again, when you have the writers from Vampire Diaries writing science fiction.
Well, now you do have to remember that Voyage Home, Spock does curse.
Yes. And they do that for comedy.
Right.
So the other 99 times that the cast of Discovery or Picard do it. What's that? What's that?
Right. No, I'm with you. I just Yeah, I'm with you, man. Most definitely. One of the things that's on right now, Keith, that I'm super excited about is a show called Ruby. It's an animated series. It's RWBY. Mm-hmm. The voice cast was in Kansas City a couple of years ago, Planet Comic Con. That's what got me kind of interested in it. And I've always thought anime would be a cool thing. I liked Battle of the Planets. I liked Voltron. So I liked a lot of the shows in the 80s or 70s and 80s that had some ties there. But I was always trying to find my niche. This show really hits home with me. And I don't know if you've ever seen any episodes of it. Basically, the first season and a half is very much Harry Potter-esque. It's these characters that have hunter abilities, so they have special abilities, and they're learning to use them. They're in an academy, and then halfway through season 2, it spins itself on its head, and everything changes because of an attack. So, and then you take these characters that are learning how to use their abilities, and you basically put them out on their own. It's a really interesting series, but I'm loving it. Season 8 just started. You have to go out to the Rooster Teeth website to watch it. It's one of those things where you can pay a subscription and watch it when new episodes come out every week, or you can watch it a week late just without the subscription. So I'm cheap. I'm going with a week later. But I'm super excited for that. For people that are interested in good anime, there is that series I highly recommend. It is kid friendly. Now it does touch on some adult subjects occasionally because they're teenagers growing up, and you've got all these relationship stuff going on at times, but it's not overly that. It's not CW-esque. It is very much it's in line. So for anybody that is interested in checking that out, at one point you could find all the episodes from season 1 to 5 out on Vudu for free, and I think you could find them out on YouTube for free. Rooster Teeth has brought it in-house since then, so you pretty much have to go watch it on their site, but I think you can watch any of the older stuff on there for free. So anybody interested, that's something I'm really excited for, because season 7 kind of left it in a place where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for season 8, and it's been 9 months, and now I've got new episodes going, so I'm super excited for that. So
yeah, well, look, it definitely sounds fun. I haven't watched a lot of anime in recent years, but if you're recommending it, then I definitely need to check it out. And again, it could be worse. I mean, fans of this show could be like the fans of the Venture Brothers.
Right. That's true.
You know, as long as you still got new episodes coming, it's always a good thing. So
it is, as long as the writing stays good, which it has. I mean, all seasons so far, the writing has been spectacular. It really has an interesting world build to it and mythology to it. So, before I forget, Jason Knight stopped by earlier and said hi, and here's what he said to us. So you weren't on yet, but he wanted to say Happy Life Day to us. So,
Big Man Jason!
Yeah. So
Hell to you, Jason.
What else are you excited for? What else is coming up that you're getting excited that's going to be out there? I know we've got Mandalorian going on now, so that really does count. Are you caught up on Mandalorian?
Not yet.
Okay.
I've seen the first 2 episodes. Loving it. I'm trying to stay off of certain social
Sites?
media sites so as to not spoil it for myself, because this is good stuff. It's really good stuff. But what I'm looking forward to is the upcoming The Stand from Paramount Plus, which will be out December 17th. That with it's Stephen King.
Right.
It's got an amazing cast. And if you've never read the book, this will be your opportunity to get in on something that is really, really cool. It's a really good story. It's an end of the world story.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. It's not exactly Hallmark Channel, but
it's a Christmas movie.
If you like Stephen King, you know what you're about to get.
Right. That's true. So is it on CBS All Access? Is that where you have to watch that? You
mean Paramount Plus?
Is that what it is now? Is it changed names now?
Oh, they had to. Something about CBS All Access not exactly hitting the numbers like they were claiming.
Well, yeah, because I'm in your target market, and you can't get me to even get a temporary membership because of all the bad press you've gotten with your Star Trek stuff. So I'm like, why would I do that? I don't know.
Yeah. So if you feel inclined, check it out.
I saw the preview, the trailer for that. That's pretty amazing looking. So I'm stoked for that. Yeah.
I mean, Whoopi Goldberg. I never really thought of putting Whoopi Goldberg in this, but it works.
Right.
But Stellan Skarsgård and that cast. Geez. This is going to be so much fun. This is going to be something to see. Now, it's not for everybody, but if you like that kind of stuff, check it out.
Right. So talking about shows, Hulu is going to have season 3 of Orville coming up next week, I believe. Yeah. The Star Trek show that's not Star Trek, but it's better than any Star Trek on.
It's better than anything currently being produced that says Star Trek on it.
It certainly is. It's great.
With a capital A, anything. It is better than anything.
Well, because he's a fan. I mean, it's being written by fans of Star Trek. Like, stop giving us this crap. This is what we want.
It's a fan who was smart enough to go out and hire one of the writers,
right,
for Star Trek to work on his show, which would have been nice for that other Star Trek show.
Any of them. Yeah, so that's super exciting because Orville is it's funny,
yes,
but it's great sci-fi. I mean, you're like, oh my gosh, this could have been a Next Generation episode, or this could have been.
Remember, CBS turned him down.
Right,
he
I know.
He was wanting to do Star Trek. They turned him down.
Right,
and you got Discovery.
Well, because you got to bring in Kirkman.
No, you don't have to bring in Kirkman, just like you don't need another hole in your head. Wow.
Maybe Kathleen Kennedy's going to go there.
You know what? Maybe not. but you know what? What I am looking forward to, another thing is the Netflix series, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Yes. Season 4 coming up at December 31st. So end of the year. Right. Yeah.
I cannot believe they're going to stop it after 4 seasons, but I understand. I get it. It's kind of sad, but I'm at least happy for a lot of the new stuff that they're going to have. I love this cast. I love this storytelling, and it is, to me, this is from Greg Berlanti or his production company, and I love all of his non-DC stuff. I love this,
right?
You know,
right.
I love his non. Now there is one DC show that he does that I do still like. But all the rest of them, chuck it, you know. But Sabrina, Berlanti, need to be working on doing more of this because this is a really good show.
Right.
And there's no reason why this show could not have been on the CW. I'm sorry. There's no reason why it could not have been. So.
But I like it that it's on Netflix. It kind of lets it be a little darker at points. But I'll have to say, and hats goes off to our co-host Ace, who's not here. AJ had told me about this after season 1 of it, and she said, you need to watch this. Finally, I got my butt in gear and started watching it, and I'm caught up. I'm super excited for it. So Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is amazing. You guys need to check it out if you're not. If you like the whole magical thing. Now, if you're put off by the whole, because there's very occultistic there. Yes. And so if you're put off with that, this is not probably not the show for you. If you're going to be offended,
no, it's not.
Instead of saying thank God, they say thank Satan, and stuff like that. So if you're put off by that, and I understand being a Christian, sometimes that stuff can be a little overwhelming. It took me a little bit to kind of get used to it. But realizing that it's really a commentary on the church, just from a different perspective. So
this is well within the realm of some of the stuff that Berlanti has done with the Archie universe.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So Riverdale is also a darker version of those characters, and
it certainly
this is slightly a little darker than that. At certain times.
Well, and the interesting thing is when you go back and look at a lot of the old Sabrina comic books, not everything falls in line there, but a lot of you're like, okay, the essence of the character is the same.
Yes.
And so I do appreciate that. But I've been enjoying Sabrina. I'm with you, man. That's a really good pick there. Yeah. Yep. Have you seen anything about Alice in Borderland? It's a live action series based off of anime. It's coming to Netflix, and basically it is a story of these 4 guys that are friends that get sucked into a video game, basically, or sucked into another dimension, and it's a game dimension, and they've got to play this game to survive. Posted the trailer a couple weeks ago on GeekyKOOL. Really interesting looking, and it's coming later this year to Netflix.
Wow.
And that looks like a lot of fun. The characters are, I believe they're Japanese because it's based off of a Japanese anime. And so the characters are pulling in right from the anime. Nothing's going to be perfect that way, but everything is completely based on that. It looks like a ton of fun. So I'm in for that.
I'm down if it's something kind of new, and I'm ready. Look, I'm ready for anything new, and I know that Netflix is trying real hard to keep people entertained.
Yep, they are.
Just keep doing it, guys. Just keep giving it to us.
Maybe they want to lay off the little girl cheerleader dancer stuff, but other than that, they're doing fine. Man, they got a lot of trouble with that.
They may want to do that.
You do have, Disney Plus has WandaVision coming out January 15th, so that's coming up soon. And boy, the last trailer for that just looks amazing.
Right?
I'm super stoked for that. It's something completely different. If you're expecting it to be another Marvel show, and it's going to be Marvel, but it is so different. It's very out there, which fits perfectly with Vision and Wanda. I mean, that's kind of what their world is like. It's kind of, they live in their own universe there.
Well, yeah. I can't add anything to that. I'm so ready. I'm beyond ready to see the show. I'm just ready.
Me too, my friend.
Give it to me, please.
Well, and when that's over, we have Falcon and Winter Soldier coming up in 2021, and that looks like fun. Oh my gosh! We haven't seen a whole lot of trailers for it, but what little bit I've seen, I'm like, okay, yeah, you could have had me with none of that, but I'm super stoked for that. So I'm ready to go.
Again, give it to me. What are you doing?
Exactly. Take
what
my
are you
money.
Doing? Yes,
take my money.
Take my money.
So that'll be fun.
And then we also have still for this year, we still have the final season of Lost in Space.
Yes.
On Netflix.
Yeah, that's. I got my. Go ahead.
I think they haven't really started back to filming yet, as far as I know. So it should be concluding sometime in 2021. But as an adaptation of the original concept of the show, this is aces. And again, if you've not sat down to watch this show, you should. It is a good family show. Unlike say, anything being produced with Star Trek in the name right now. Lost in Space is currently what you should be watching if you want to find a show to watch with your family that is about a family going through a lot of different stuff. I mean, it's good stuff. Good stuff.
It is. My son, who's 11 now, I started him in on this once it hit on Netflix, and that I saw that it was going to be family friendly. So he was 9 at the time, and he's very much a super Star Wars fan. He won't give Star Trek a chance because I don't know whatever. Anything old other than Star Wars, he just is like. But I got him hooked. I basically started watching with him in the room, and when the end of the first season happened, he goes, "Well, can we watch the next episode?" That's it, son. And he started crying. He's like, "I'm sorry, don't mean to be crying." He was so into it. And so then season 2 came out, and he was like, "I don't know, Dad. That was a year ago." I'm like, "Watch it." And he sat down and watched an episode. And of course, he's hooked again. And we're watching them back to back to back. And he's like, "It ends here?" I'm like, "We get another season coming." So I'm super excited to see kind of where he takes this. Watching him watch it along with me, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, I'm doing all right as a father because I've introduced my son to sci-fi that he's really into. So
and you taught him the lessons of patience.
Exactly.
Yes.
Boy. Son, we didn't basically, we had it to where you had to stay and watch it next week, every episode. And if your parents decide to take you somewhere, unusual, or if they're going to go out to eat or whatever, and you miss the episode, you're not seeing that episode unless it just happened to be on rerun. So,
you know what I would do is I would wait another year or two and introduce him to Deep Space Nine.
Oh, I
Star
think
Trek
so.
Deep Space Nine would be his thing, because it's got everything you could want. And when you get to the final 2 seasons, his little Star Wars heart is going to celebrate.
That's true.
So,
that's true. No, I really like it. And I don't know, one of the local stations here in Springfield, 47.1, shows old shows. Is one of those stations. It shows every night from starting at 7 o'clock to midnight. Is Star Trek back to back to back to back. So you have original, Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise every night, and it keeps them in order. So like if it's a 2-parter, the next night you get the second parter. So I've been like, dude, forget watching regular TV. I'm watching Star Trek marathon constantly.
Well, you could also do that on Netflix.
You can. It's just one of those things to where I don't have to think about it. And I'm like, okay. And I do enjoy doing that. We've got Cobra Kai coming up early next year. Season 3. Have you watched season 1 and 2?
Haven't seen any of that yet. And again, you know me. I watch so much stuff. I'm surprised I'm able to form a sentence. I mean,
when it first came out on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, they gave you a month free. They said, okay, you can have the new YouTube thing trying to get you engrossed in. And of course, it failed eventually. But Cobra Kai was a big shining thing from that. So season 1, I watched, and man, it was great. And then season 2, I ended up buying on Vudu, because I'm like, you know what? I need to see what happens in season 2. And now they're over on Netflix. So if you've not seen it, check out season 1 and 2, guys. If you like the original Karate Kid movie, forget about all the sequels. Even though 2 is a decent sequel, forget about all the sequels. This goes from basically the end of the movie 1, 40 years later, what's going on in these guys' lives. Or maybe it's 35 years later, whatever it is. But it is so much fun because the characters are very relatable, and you see growth in these characters. You also see where things get jaded in people, and people remember things differently. So it's a really interesting perspective when you go back and compare. And it's great. Season 3 is coming up, and season 2 leaves you on a huge cliffhanger. So then you don't know what's going to happen. And of course, and then we got season 3 coming up I think it's in January. It's going to premiere on Netflix. So, but yeah, check it out, cool. Keith.
Yeah, I will.
If you like the original movie.
Oh, trust me. Look. The selling point for me was that the producers behind Rocky wanted to do a Rocky film, but make it for kids. And that's what the Karate Kid was. It's using the exact same Rocky formula. And isn't it kind of telling that both Rocky and the Karate Kid have these new leases on life with these new versions that are able to introduce new audiences to what they have, yet keeps the same storylines that were established in their original films.
Right.
It's great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish Alex Kurtzman would do that.
Yeah, I know. We also have, for my T-shirt here, Stranger Things coming up next year now. It's been pushed back a little bit. It was supposed to be Thanksgiving this year. Yeah. And because of COVID, it got pushed back. But, Stranger Things, I'm super stoked for. I love that show. That show is just amazing.
Yeah, it's a good show. It's a solid show. And I just like, again, it's another thing to like about Netflix. For me, Dune Patrol. Announcing season 3 of Dune Patrol. Again, like I said, there's on my list of things, there's only 2 Berlanti shows, and this is the other one. Now, let me at least just say this. There's a lot of cursing on this show.
Yeah, there is. But it's not for little kids.
Yeah, this is not a show for little kids. Okay. And I have to admit, I wasn't initially sold on this show because I'm an OG Doom Patrol fan.
Right.
So realistically, if you just get rid of one character, well, technically two characters, if you get rid of two of the characters on this show, you pretty much have OG Doom Patrol.
Right.
You know? And I get why the other two characters are on there. But you know, and it's not that I hate them. I've come to really kind of like them. But I'm still a big OG Doom Patrol fan. And I'm hoping that they're able to do an episode with just the OG Doom Patrol. But you know, it as long as it comes back and we can proceed from where we last left our heroes. I think this show is just fun. And again, I wish that Berlanti and his people would stick to doing more stuff like this, you know. But I get it.
Right. I'm with you, man. No, it is a fun show. It is one I have to be careful of watching it with my sons out there because I'm like, oh my. Okay.
With Robot Man in his mouth and all the different ways that you can drop an F-bomb, very creative and funny. Unlike Star Trek Discovery. Maybe
they should just learn how to drop the F-bomb in a more funny way.
Maybe. Turn it into a comedy. Oh, wait a minute.
Can we make Data into Robot Man? And
you can't have Data in this universe.
No.
We all know why. The other show I'm looking forward to is they announced that they are doing season 3 of Harley Quinn, the animated adult series. Which again, this is not for kids.
Not at all.
But it is fun. It's fun.
Oh my gosh. And I've told people when you watch the show, these aren't necessarily the characters you're used to. I think of it as Harley Quinn's perspective on these characters.
Yes.
Especially Commissioner Gordon.
Which is exactly like her movie. The Harley Quinn film, Birds of Prey. That's really her perspective. That's not actually how things went down. So,
right, exactly.
Because really,
I kind of understood what I was getting into in the very first episode when Dr. Psycho confronts Wonder Woman, and you're like, okay, that's what the show's about.
That's it. I mean, even Wonder Woman had that look like, wow.
Like, what did you say? And the fact that the Legion of Doom kicks him out for it.
This show is like, it's like, what if the people behind the Venture Brothers got together with the people slightly off from Rick and Morty and decided, hey, let's do a cartoon set in the Batman universe.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what this is.
It is. It really is.
Kite Man.
Clayface. I love Clayface because he's always wanting to act.
Actor.
Oh. And Kite Man. You gotta love Kite Man. When Kite Man's one of your main characters, you're like, okay, all right.
See,
anyway.
Now you got me. Oh gosh, yes. I can't wait. I cannot wait. I'm having way too much fun with that show.
Well, I was so happy when they moved these series over to HBO Max, and that I happened to get HBO Max for. Actually, my daughter got HBO Max. I'm just enjoying it on her dime at the moment. But now I provide Hulu, Disney Plus, Netflix, and Amazon Prime for her. You can kind of give me some HBO. That's all right. So, but no, I'm so happy.
If you get a chance, as a side note, check out Lovecraft Country.
Yes.
So,
Lovecraft Country is great. Yeah, man, it's really interesting. You watch the first episode and you're like, I thought this would be the entire series. I thought we were going to do this. Where are we going now?
That opening scene is like an ending scene for most movies.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
No,
I don't know if they're doing another one, but
I think they're going to, because it has really hit hard. So, but yeah, Lovecraft Country is really cool. I'm really digging that show. So, what kind of movies are you interested in? I know a lot of the movies we were excited for in 2020 have been moved back to 2021.
yeah.
So,
well,
what still has you excited?
Wonder Woman, has me excited because Wonder Woman,
right?
And
it's also in the 80s. I mean, crud. There we go.
Yeah, and then having been to Washington D.C. Some time back recently, seeing that trailer, and it just brought it all back.
Yeah,
so I'm kind of like, hey, I went there, and I went there, and I went there. So again, I'm wanting to see this, and I'm wanting to see how we're gonna take her next adventure after what we had seen in the first film.
Right.
And here I am just knocking lights. Anyway, but that is at the top of my list.
That's right up at the top of mine too.
And then Black Widow.
Right.
Because it's Scarlett Johansson, and she's playing a character that we all love. Everybody
and she finally got her due. She really should have had a movie long before now. I'm so glad they finally did it. And this movie looks really interesting. Yeah. Really interesting premise that they're going off of. It's taking place after Captain America: Civil War. She's on the run because she basically, betrayed the other heroes and helped out Cap there. So she's on the run and ends up back in the homeland of Russia. So dealing with all that crap, which is some of my favorite stories of Black Widow, are her dealing with the Red Room and all that. So I'm super excited for that. As a fan of the character, it's from the comics, and as a fan of ScarJo, and then I'm in. So I'm so in, and it looks like a ton of fun. So,
now the thing that everyone has to understand about the whole movie end of it is, what I heard was all of the studios per movie that they are holding on to, it is costing them $1 million a month.
Wow.
So that's the reason why you've got a lot of, these films that are looking at going to streaming.
Right.
Mainly because you not only have the deals that were originally set because you are borrowing money to make these movies, but you also have the deals made for advertising.
Right.
Product tie-ins and stuff. Well, all the people that you made those deals with, many of those products have already come and gone off the shelves.
Right.
Remember when you saw all the Doritos bags that had Wonder Woman on it, or all the product stuff that they put out related to James Bond and all that.
Right.
All these products have already come out. These particular companies pay for access to your movie to have their products in your film. And if the movie doesn't come out, you kind of reneged on your side of the deal. So, you know, and then you have the thing about how contracts and stuff might have to be reworked because these films were originally meant to be seen on the big screen. Having them on streaming is a different deal slightly. So you might even have to renegotiate some of this stuff, and it's creating a headache the longer it goes on. And I think the only film that doesn't have as much to worry about is No Time to Die, because Barbara Broccoli, the producer, along with her brother Michael, she paid off the banknote on the film. So really, aside from advertising cost, James Bond is actually making out a lot better than a lot of these other movies. Because Wonder Woman, let me put it to you this way. Given the cost of these movies, and this is something that we've talked about on Pop Culture Minefield, my show on YouTube. Gary and I have talked about this a lot recently. But given how much money has actually been has actually been spent to make these. It's a lot of these movies are basically going to end up having to deal with the fact they might have to lose money in order to go to streaming, because there's no way that if you made a movie for $150 million and you spent close to that much on advertising, or let's just say you spent $50 million in advertising, so now you're on the hook for $200 million. You needed to make 400 to break even.
Right.
You go to streaming, there is no way you're gonna do that kind of business.
Right.
So Black Widow, Wonder Woman, possibly even Godzilla versus Kong, and basically every big movie that has been completed but is currently sitting on a shelf somewhere, costing the studio $1 million a month.
Right.
Storage fee. This is going to get real expensive. And, a decision has to be made soon, because some of these movies have been sitting on the shelf for almost a year.
Right.
Think about that. You have now spent the cost of one of these films almost to be bankrolled in the time that you've been sitting on it.
Right.
So,
and you could put it out streaming and then pull it back to theaters when things are better, if you wanted to do that. Some of them were meant to be seen in theater. You're not going to get as big of a crowd that way, but I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer is. I'm hoping that COVID.
If you come up with it, let the studios know, because they're all ears at this point, because we've already seen the bad side of this. Which is what happened with what's the name of that film? The one Trolls 2.
Yeah.
You know how the studio was all about, Trolls is a big success and blah 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 blah. Yeah, because you put it out on streaming. Well, by doing that, you basically sacrificed your secondary market, meaning nobody went out to actually buy that when it came out on Blu-ray and DVD.
Right.
You people walking into Walmart and you see these huge end caps, these huge displays made for this movie that nobody's buying because they already saw it at home.
Right.
So even though Trolls,
why buy it at that point?
Of money, so you killed yourself on that one. You may have done very well going to streaming, but the money that you made was only meant to originally be the first part of what was meant to be a long trail of money that you were going to make from basically selling the Blu-rays and DVDs and all. Well, now you get none of that. You just get the money that you made on streaming and you're done.
Right.
Oh, you've lost money. So your investors cannot be happy with that. And at least in the case of Bill and Ted, that movie was made, they cut back on everything, including the salary of all the actors. Everybody made scale on that movie.
Right.
So Bill and Ted may actually end up paying back all of its money and squeaking out a little bit of a payday. But that's about it,
Right. Well, it was in theaters for a short period of time. I mean, limited runs and
yeah. And it was good seen in theaters. It
was. I saw it in theater also. It was fun. Fun movie.
It's the best. To me, it is the best feel-good movie of 2020.
Yeah,
I
agree.
Bill and Ted, that is the best, period, of all the films released in the theater this year. It is the best feel-good family movie of 2020.
I hear an Oscar. Oh, no.
I don't know about an Oscar. I mean, I think Will Smith and Martin Lawrence might want to talk to you about that one. Because remember,
well, that may be true too.
Bad Boys 3 is, I think, the top grossing American-made movie of 2020.
Right.
So they made a lot of money at the box office. And up until this one Chinese film came out, they were the top grossing film of the year up until about May or June.
Right.
So, just saying.
Right. Hey, Bad Boys. There you go. What you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? So, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I've got a whole laundry list of things. One of the ones we were talking about, Jack Kirby. The Eternals are still on the schedule for 2021.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. That'll be an interesting to see what they do with Kirby's brainchild when he came back to Marvel. I'm fascinated because you're not going to make the characters look just like what Kirby drew them. But
again, this is the reason why Kirby's a genius. Not only could he create stuff that just sparked the imagination, but you got to remember, 2021 and probably 2022, back to back, you're going to see the same idea twice from two different companies, from two different studios, because the Eternals is Jack Kirby's version of the New Gods.
Right.
And both those comics are being made right now as movies.
Right.
So you're about to, that's kind of cool. Jack Kirby's the man. He is the man.
Kirby is the man. I agree.
Oh man. I
agree. Yeah. And you have other things. You've got, of course, you talked about Black Widow. There's also from Marvel, we've got the Shang-Chi movie coming up. Also, The Legend of the Ten Rings, which will actually tell us about the Mandalorian, the Mandarin, and the Ten Rings. Unlike what Iron Man 3 pulled, which wasn't bad. I actually left the theater going, I don't love that they did that to me, but they got me because I totally did not see that coming. So, look,
I love the cast.
Yeah,
but a lot of people like to say Iron Man 2 is the worst. For me, Iron Man 3, because I couldn't do it. I couldn't go with them on that one. No. That was a deal breaker for me. It's like, no, you shouldn't do that. I mean, you could have done this any other way. And you were trying, and the thing is, it isn't just the fact that they fooled you on the whole Mandarin thing. They also took out AIM.
Right.
So it's like, okay, so you're gonna basically skimp on 2. No, I'm out.
I understand. I didn't dislike either one of them, actually. 1 is definitely the best one. 2 and 3 have their bright spots and have other problems, and I enjoy them both for what they are. But no, I'm excited to see. And I don't know if it's fan made or if it's actually something that I just never saw it officially. But I saw a clip where it shows a guy who played the role of the Mandarin in Iron Man 3 actually getting confronted by a group saying, our boss wants to talk to you. He's like, well, who's that?
No. That was one of the many Marvel movies that was included with the Thor: The Dark World, I think it was.
Okay, that's right.
So yeah, that was called Hail to the King.
That's right.
And Trevor is the name of the character from Iron Man 3. It's Trevor. And Trevor's been in the middle of filming a documentary about his, time being the Mandarin and all that. And it turns out it was really a plot to basically break him out so that he could go see the real Mandarin.
Right.
And the Mandarin's not happy.
Well, no, not at all. This character who's under the shadows, nobody knows about. You put a name to him, you pretend to be him. Oh my gosh, that's bad. So, but no, I'm super excited for that. A lot of cool stuff coming. Of course, Godzilla vs. Kong, Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Let me just say this. We've managed to be in the midst of a really cool trilogy of films, or there's about to be a trilogy of films. Godzilla King of Monsters was an amazing movie.
Yes, it was.
That was just amazing. I should say we shouldn't say a trilogy, because we got three films already.
Yeah,
and
right.
we're getting ready to go to quad. So
right.
quadrilogy with Godzilla versus Kong. But Godzilla King of Monsters is an amazing film. And Kong Skull Island was also really yes, good. It
was.
So I just think that knowing that they had already finished this film, and really it's all about releasing the movie, I'm excited. I'm beyond excited to do this, because I want to see this story. I want to see the destruction. I want to see the battles, especially after Godzilla King of Monsters, of how Kong is going to fit within this. Because if you noticed in the movie, spoiler alert, at the end of the film, two of the creatures that surround Godzilla are two creatures from Kong Skull Island. So it begs the question, where's Kong?
Right.
Where's Kong at? So I'm ready. I am so ready for that movie. How about you?
Oh yeah. I remember watching the original Godzilla versus King Kong movie when I was younger, and just being fascinated with it. I mean, I loved the original King Kong movie. Loved a lot of the Godzilla. Actually, I loved every Godzilla movie I could watch. I just was fascinated. And then I'm like, oh, you got them fighting against each other. And I'm like, okay, this is not great, but it was so much fun just to see them go head to head. And the fact that you're actually going to see a really good special effect version of this, you're going to see something with a really good story, because we've already laid out the stories in all the other three movies are really well thought out. So we're going to move along into that. And I'm super stoked for it. So, yeah.
I just think that overall, if you are a Godzilla fan, you got to understand that this is nothing but positive. Let's bring more fans into your fan base.
Right.
Because if this movie really goes off big, who knows where it can go from here? I'm again, as I said before, I am beyond excited for this movie.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
So there you go. That was I had to say that.
No, I'm with you. I also feel that way about Ghostbusters Afterlife too. Super stoked for that.
True.
The fact that you're introducing these kids that are related, and it's going to tie into the original Ghostbusters, and it's going to be a unique, different story, but it's also going to play to the originals. I'm so in. I just the trailer with them driving the Echo One, and then the door flinging open, and I'm like, okay, I'm in. You've got me there. So yeah, that looks like a ton of fun. Of course,
look, it's about time. This is the kind of movie. Look, I have nothing but mad respect for what the last movie attempted to do.
Right.
This is the direction that they should have gone.
Right.
And if you wanted to have an all-female Ghostbusters, I would have found a way of making them a part of what this story is about, rather than what they tried to do, which is kind of redo the first movie all over again.
No, I'm with you. You could have tied it in as a next generation thing.
Yeah.
Had them related, or, hey, now we're actually going to do this in LA. We've got an LA branch.
Yeah.
And it just happens to be all girls. And I mean, you could have gone a lot of different ways. And I'm with you. I think the writing was the worst part of the last movie with all the girls. It wasn't so much the acting or the fact they were girls. It was just the fact it wasn't well written. So,
and on top of that, I just didn't respect the fact that Leslie Jones was the only one playing a character without a degree. It's like, how hard would it have been just to make her a professor too? Or to at least make her an engineer or something? You had to make Okay, nope, that's an old argument. I'm not going to bring that up again. But that really bothered me. That really that plus the fact that Melissa McCarthy was originally going to play that role.
Right.
The role that she ended up playing was not the role that she had originally had. It was the Leslie Jones role was the role that Melissa McCarthy was going to have. Okay, I'm done.
I'm with you, man. Makes perfect sense. There's a litany of movies that were supposed to come out this year that you just can't wait to see in 2020. No Time to Die. We talked about James Bond. That looks like a lot of fun. I'm excited to see what we're going to do with that. We've got Top Gun Maverick coming out.
Maverick.
Yeah. You got Dune. Quiet Place 2 looks like a ton of fun. You've got The Kingsman. Supposedly we've got The Matrix 4 coming out. I've not seen a whole lot on that, but that looks interesting.
I've seen some of the behind the scenes footage. I mean, they definitely were shooting the movie before C-19 really got intense.
Right.
But and they were also shooting Mission Impossible also.
Right. I did hear that. Yeah.
I saw some of the behind the scenes on that too. But I don't know how far that both those films got, but I am looking forward to both those movies.
Yeah, so. Me too. Well, here's one that I didn't know anything about. I just kind of came across it. And I'm like, what? No idea they were making this movie. Micronuts.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, take me back to my childhood here from Marvel Comics and the toy line. And I'm like, wow, there you go. So, Mike, I don't think it's going to connect into the Marvel universe. I think it's going to go off the toy line.
Yes.
It would be fascinating if you actually put it in the Marvel universe, into the microverse and all of that. And then you could cross that over with Ant-Man and stuff. That would be fun, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But Micronuts are cool. So
even if they do that, it'll be great. Talk about a blast from the past.
I know. Playing to our childhood, even though we're just 29.
Well, but I think that goes with a lot of the other things that are happening.
I agree.
Now that they're going to have this big crossover universe between G.I. Joe and Transformers.
It's true.
If they're going to do that, then of course the Micronauts are on the way. Just let me know when Rom shows up, and it'll be a real big party.
There you go. I'm with you. Now, was Rama Toy Line also? I know they were a Marvel comic. I wasn't sure how that crossed over with it. So
it was Toy Line first, and the comic was meant to help sell it. So
right. Well, and I remember it crossed over in everything. He would cross over with Spider-Man and everything else. Mm-hmm. Ron was an interesting comic. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's going to be a lot of stuff added. Even if we got back January 1st and just started showing these movies, it's going to be hard to win next year just because there are so many blockbuster potential movies out there that could steal things away. So it's interesting, and I'm super stoked because we could go to the movies every week and still come back disappointed that we didn't get to see everything we wanted to see.
Yeah, it's those that are at least lucky enough to have a streaming service somewhere attached to what they're doing might be able to figure out certain ways of doing things. But as I was saying earlier on Pop Culture Minefield, our big thing is that we think it's time that Hollywood considered taking this a different way.
Right.
We've been counting down our favorite films, our top favorite films from each year in the 80s.
Right. And I've been watching those, by the way. I've been enjoying those.
And you notice we also talk about what the budget of the movie was and what it made.
Yep.
And some of these movies, as we had talked about before, some of these films had a lot of visual effects and stuff that could easily be replicated, especially, when you get into the 90s and early 2000s. There's a lot of stuff that has been created for CG that was very expensive initially when those movies were first made. That is now really, really cheap. Some of this is just basic stuff that anybody with a computer, with a laptop, can actually buy and enjoy. And my thing is, okay, so it took, you know, a film like Terminator 2 Judgment Day nowadays would have cost $150 to $200 million to make, but that isn't what the actual production budget was.
Right.
And so technically you could recreate that entire movie if you at least had access to a really, really good stunt team and the same locations. But the visual effects you can go ahead and recreate now. Many of the visual effects that we're seen in films like Young Sherlock Holmes, the aforementioned Terminator 2, and even The Matrix and Lord of the Rings, you can actually, you can actually have that now. So my thing is, well, then why not just write better scripts? And instead of making movies for $150 or $100 million, why not just say $50 million, and then use $100 million as your ceiling? Because again, as I pointed out on our show, the first Hellboy movie was made for like 60 something million, and the second film, Golden Army, was made for almost 70 million.
Right.
So both of those films were under $100 million.
Right.
And then you had like
and visually they were stunning. So they I mean, so it's not like they skimped on anything. Those movies are great.
And Deadpool was made for like 56 million.
Right.
And the only difference between that and the sequel film was that Deadpool 2 was made for 110 million.
Right.
So Deadpool 2 did well, but it didn't do as well as far as profit because they spent a lot of money on it.
Right.
But
you had to bring in more. You had to bring in more mutants.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. Hollywood needs to reconceptualize how they want to do this and get into pinching some pennies and getting creative, because there's still people that can do things like matte painting. You can create visual effects on set rather than having to use CGI.
Right.
You can go practical instead of, a majority of Raiders of the Lost Ark is all practical.
Right.
So if you have a good script and you have a team that knows what it's doing, you can actually create a really good film for less than $100 million. And if a lot of these films had actually used that, like Black Widow or Wonder Woman, then a lot of the problems that we're experiencing right now wouldn't be a problem. You can just turn around and go ahead and release those on streaming.
Right.
Because now you're not talking about that, owing a lot of money. So, that's just me.
No, I'm with you, man. That makes sense. No, totally makes sense. Hollywood's going to have to do some things differently. I think the whole experience is going to be different. And it'll be interesting to see how much theaters come back, because your in theater cost, and where that was, you're making a buttload of money off of theaters, that may not be there as much as it was, because you have movie theaters shutting down and aren't going to reopen because of this whole COVID thing. They were just one step away. And honestly, the deals that they had to put those movies out, they weren't making any money off of putting those movies out. They had to sell concessions for outrageous prices just to get you to be able to break even and stay afloat. And
what kills me is the fact that even a corporation like Disney didn't exactly have it in their heads to do probably the smartest thing. Both Disney and Warner Brothers screwed up, because you have audiences that were clamoring to see the Marvel movies.
Right.
At what point did someone decide, did someone's mind skip over the really cool idea of actually selling comic books to movie theaters?
I agree.
Or selling, Disney, I mean, if they've stripped away the rules covering studios and movie theaters, maybe Disney can start reopening some of these theaters as Disney theaters, and
Right.
start selling merchandise along with all the other concession stuff. In fact, have a mini Disney type store there at the movie
Right.
theater. So when you
Right.
come out of the movie, you can actually buy some of the merchandise for some of the movies that you really enjoy.
To quote Yogurt, merchandising.
Yeah. That's it. That's part of the reason why Star Wars is doing so well, because
Right.
while the movies have made money, they aren't selling as much in the merchandising as they used to.
That's very true.
The merchandising is suffering big time. And again, the chart that they have shows pretty definitively that the merchandising was big for The Force Awakens,
Right.
and severely dropped off
Mm-hmm.
for the Last Jedi. Last Jedi killed Star Wars. That's the reason why people like me keep saying that. It killed Star Wars. It killed it because it killed the merchandising.
Thanks, Ryan Johnson.
Thank you.
Hey, did you see the comical thing about the nightmare if Ryan Johnson was going to actually direct a episode of Mandalorian?
Oh, jeez.
Well, I came up with the perfect plot, though. So the perfect plot for Ryan Johnson would be right away, the child kills the Mandalorian and takes his armor and becomes evil. Finds out that his father really is Palpatine. And we end it there. And then the next episode, not directed by Ryan Johnson, will be the Mandalorian wakes up in his bed sweating and went, "What a terrible dream," and moves on.
or it could just go like, The Rise of Skywalker, and end up spending 3 times the amount of money that they report to people. That's the thing about that movie. They ended up spending so much money. It's that film's supposed to have been made for like $300 million.
Yeah.
Let's just say, according to certain little birdies, keep going up with that number, because I'm hearing close to 7.
Wow. That's crazy.
And so if you spent that kind of money, and what it ended up making at the theater is not even close to covering just the base cost of what you needed to cover that movie. Oh, and the merchandising, thanks to The Last Jedi, nobody was buying toys.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson, thanks, buddy. Thanks for nothing.
Thanks for nothing.
Hit the road, Jack.
Well, Keith, I think we need to wrap it up. We're getting close to 2 hours, and I appreciate you so much, man, for jumping on here with me.
I did it to you again. I'm sorry.
Oh, man, it's all right. It's all good. It's not your fault. We had a lot to talk about there, and we had a lot of fun doing it. So we spent a lot of time talking about Batman versus Superman and Man of Steel and that whole thing. And that was great because, it really sets people up with what you're looking for, with their expectations for what's going to happen in the Zack Snyder cut. Good or bad, it's coming. It's going to be there. The new trailer is out, and I'll be posting that. But it looks like a lot of fun. I like what they're doing with it. So even me, who's been critical, is excited for it. So there we go.
Let me leave you with this. Not everything lasts.
Right.
And the thing that a lot of Marvel fans need to understand is that Kevin Feige is not always going to be there.
Hush your mouth.
And I know, right? Because Image is going to hire him away, and he'll be making Image movies. But no, he's not always going to be there. So whoever they get in may decide to just start all over again. Eventually, you will recast all of these characters. You will start a brand new series of stories that will have nothing to do with everything that we've been experiencing these last 12 years. And what you're going to have to prepare for is an all-new take on a lot of that stuff. And this is what DC fans have been experiencing now for almost 80 years.
True.
Of just different interpretations of characters when it comes to the Hollywood interpretation of these characters.
Right.
Marvel fans are now going to get to feel that, because you're going to have somebody come in that's going to have a whole different take that might not jibe with how you feel Iron Man, as played by Robert Downey Jr., should be played, or Captain America, as played by Chris Evans, or Black Widow, as played by Scarlett Johansson. You're going to have to deal with other interpretations. And again, to be fair, Robert Downey Jr. definitely, he's Iron Man.
Right.
But they didn't exactly give you the whole of who that character is from the comics.
Right.
So there's a lot of room there to play.
That's true. That's true.
Tony really is not a nice guy. So.
Well, and they show some of that. But yeah, you're right. He's a practical guy.
Yeah,
he looks at things very practically.
That's one way you're putting it.
Yeah. Well, hey, when it comes to Cap versus Iron Man, I'm a Cap guy all the way. Of course, I'm a Spider-Man guy all the way. Yeah. But Tony's looks at things very practically. What's really going to work? Where Captain America and Spider-Man are more of what's the right thing to do? What feels right here?
Well, it's easy for them to do that when they don't have a major drinking problem.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. You're exactly right. So. All right, my friend. Well, I'm hoping that Feige sticks around for another 80 years, and once he dies, that you're going to do a Weekend at Bernie's thing, and get his body moved around by one of his disciples. It's going to pretend like everything is a Feige movie still. So that's what I'm hoping for. So,
you know what? I hope for that too, because the worst thing they could do is have Alex Kurtzman come in.
Oh, yeah! Don't do that to me.
I know, right?
Kathleen Kennedy's taking over. I'm out. Kirkman and Kennedy right here. All right. Well, let's do something else. All right.
Warner Brothers, we'll happily give you JJ to help. JJ will help you guys.
I like JJ. So now I haven't liked everything he's done, but overall, JJ, I'm all right with JJ.
Then we can have JJ make a couple of Marvel films. We'll have him make his own version of Iron Man, because that's what he'll demand. Like, I want to make my own Iron Man. I'll cast my own Iron Man.
Let's just make a Lost movie. I'm all right with that. Lost and
the Lost Iron Man movie. That's what he'll do. And he'll make his own Captain America movie too.
Well, at least it's not Superman.
Lens flare.
It's not Superman. The Death of Superman movie, that was going to be made in the 90s. At least it's not that.
Oh, jeez, you had no idea that one.
And I love Nick. So, all right. So, all right, guys. So, ending our show, we want to shout out some of our friends. Let's talk about Mr. Keith here. Thank you, Mr. Keith, for joining us. Keith and Gary over Pop Culture Minefield. They have been doing their sections on the best side, their favorite sci-fi movies from specific years in the 80s, starting with 1980, going all the way out. That is amazing to watch. As AJ always is quick to remind you guys, they're not always PG, especially not Gary, who we love. So know that going in. If you are above 13 and you're okay with cursing and you can handle things being a little intense sometimes, check those guys out, because it is a ton of fun. Always have a great time. And you guys always teach me a lot. So
we try. And just to let you know, we have some major stuff coming between now and a few weeks from now. But we got some big interviews coming.
All right.
We have been planning, and I got to say, even I was kind of surprised some of these people said yes. So we have some really cool guests coming up. So just if you are a fan of what we do, just be patient. We hear you, and we will give you some really cool content coming. I'm just so excited.
So Keith, what I'd like to do is, you guys are the Tonight Show. And I'm going to be the late night. AJ and I are the late night show afterward. So we're like David Letterman was to the Carson for all those years. So you get those D-level guys that you're like, we don't really have time for you. We'll send you over here. We're taking them. Bring them on over. Just say, you guys, we'd love to talk to you, but why don't you go over there first? We'll see how your interview goes. We'll determine that. We love that kind of love. So. Just, you know.
Look, I think we should have you guys on sometime on our show, and we should do something. But look, I have to fully admit, a lot of people I ask are either like, "Who are you guys?" or "Never heard of you." It seems like when Gary asks people, it's, "Oh yeah, sure, I'd like to be on your show." You know, Gary's always surprising me with all these really cool guests. So look, just understand, we have gotten everybody's messages, and we hear you. It's been a while since we've done anything outside of our 80s thing new. That's because we've had some planning. We've been doing some things. But we hear you. We got some stuff coming. So,
well, we're looking forward to it, Keith. You guys are always awesome. We also have some other local good friends that are doing something nerdy and geeky just like we are in Pop Culture Minefield. We've got the Nerd Informants over on YouTube and Facebook. Those guys are amazing. Yeah. They really are awesome at the movie reviews, and they have a weekly podcast also that's amazing to watch. So especially when movies start hitting theaters again, these guys are really going to pick it up a notch, but they're worth checking out right now. So check them out, Nerd Informants.
Time. Yeah, every time. They are worth it every time.
They definitely are. And they do a review for the week that's really fun, because they basically go day by day. What's the new breaking news that happened on this day? And if you miss something, you will find out what it was, and they'll keep you informed over there. And of course, we've got the Scallywag himself. We got Spoo over at Scallywag Productions. They've been on a little bit of a hiatus, but they're coming back and going to have new cool stuff coming out. And so check him out on YouTube. He also has an Instagram thing where he does his horror toy day, where you can find out some really cool, interesting things there. And of course on GeekyKOOL.com, where we like to talk nerd and geek, and we've got a brand new writer over on GeekyKOOL. She is amazing. I'm forgetting her name. Give me a second. I'll pull it up. My gosh, my brain just went poof. I hate that when you hit 29, when your brain starts doing that, Keith.
Well,
I don't know what that is.
GeekyKOOL really is the go-to place for all the coolest news, for all the coolest geek. Hell, I go there because I like reading everything you guys put together. You guys we
do appreciate that.
You guys are great.
Well, thank you. I so do appreciate that. Morgan Komnick is our new writer. She's an author. She is she's a teacher, and she is tons of fun. She's a huge anime fan. She did a great article on our site about the whole dice for playing D&D, and how that really becomes a collector set thing, and that whole mindset, which is just an interesting way. I would not have thought to do an article about dice, but it works, and it works really well. She's amazing. Come check her out, and people can check her out on her website. Also, we've got links to her stuff for her novels. But yeah, we're excited. AJ should be back with us next week, and we miss you, AJ.
Get better, AJ.
Let's get that tooth fixed so we can have you on here talking.
Look, whatever you got to do to get back here, because this is not the same without you. I cannot even come close to doing what you do, because you guys together are a team, and I like watching your chemistry. All I do is mess stuff up. So I'm just keeping your seat warm. No. I'm keeping your seat warm. So get better.
She is amazing. So you are too, Keith. We love you, man. So we're glad you came on. You're awesome. And I was serious when I told Tiff. Oh my gosh, my brain just my tongue starts moving. Anyway, I'm serious. We really need to do Titans the Fantastic again. Get you guys together and
Brittany again. Movie maker Brittany.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, she's a big deal.
I know, right?
Awards for being director and creating all this stuff, and
I wonder if she remembers our names.
I don't know. She seemed to on the horror episode. She really she went to town on that, so that was awesome. But no, thank you guys for watching.
for sitting through and talking with us. And thank you, Keith. You're always amazing, my friend. So much love there. Until next week, stay geeky. Make sure you check out Keith over here at Pop Culture Minefield. Go out there and check him out now if you haven't. Unless you're below 13, then Gary will tell you to get out. So this is at the very beginning. If you're not 13, get out of here. So